Hey students, today's topic is about the female gametophyte. Hey students, today's topic is about the female gametophyte. Now let's talk about the flowering plants. Now we are going to study about the female gametophyte. Now let's talk about the flowering plants. Now we are going to study about the female gametophyte. When we talk about the flowering plants, that is, most majority of them, they have the embryo sac consisting of 7 cells and 8 nuclei. The flowering plants consist of the embryo sac which is having 7 cells and 8 nuclei. Now we are going to study about the very important two, which is very much essential for us to study now. Now we are going to study the first very important one, that is the large central cell, which is having 2 nuclei. Now we are going to study about the large central cell, which is having 2 nuclei. Now we are going to study about the large central cell which is having 2 nuclei. The large central cell is having 2 nuclei. These two large cell which is having the 2 nuclei is called as polar nuclei, and the other one is called as the egg cell. The egg is that means the egg cell is present at the end of the embryo sac. At the end of the embryo sac, that is here, it is having an opening through which the pollen tube enters. At the end of the embryo sac, there is an opening through which the pollen tube enters. The stigma here, it consists of some of the sticky substances, that is sticky fluids, which are having sugars. So the pollen grains germinate, forming a pollen tube. The cells in the stigma, they have got that sticky substances, that is sticky fluids, which contains the nutrients such as sugars and helps the pollen grains to germinate and forms a pollen tube. The pollen grains germinates and forms a pollen tube which enters to the embryo sac. At the end of the embryo sac, there is an opening. So in this region, the pollen, at the end of the embryo sac, it has got an opening through which the pollen grain enters, and the pollen tube which ruptures and releases, it has got the 2 male nuclei. So it releases the 2 male nuclei. As soon as the pollen tube enters into the embryo sac, the pollen tube gets ruptured and releases 2 male nuclei. So amongst the 2 male nuclei, one of the nuclei fuses with the egg cell to form a zygote. We have seen that there are 2 nuclei. So these 2 nuclei fuses together to form a single fusion nuclei. There are 2 nuclei which combines and forms as a single fusion nuclei. 2 nuclei which is present at the either side of the egg cell is called as synergids. Here we call these as antipodals. These cells are called as antipodals. Thus we conclude that one of the nuclei, male nuclei, fuses with the egg cell to form as a zygote.